This is Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times, and this is my DVD pick of the week. Spencer Tracy is one of the great Hollywood stars. He had a very long career, a decades-long career, but most people know him from his later roles. And in his later roles, he was a lot of times to be found in the courtroom dramas. Right now, 2 of his courtroom dramas are being released on Blu-ray by Kino Lorber, and they're well worth looking at. First up is Inherit the Wind, a drama about what's been called the Scopes Monkey Trial, a 1920s trial about whether evolution was fact or fiction. Spencer Tracy plays Clarence Darrow, who argued that it was fact, and Frederick plays William Jennings Bryan, who was a spokesperson for the other side. It's a fine courtroom drama and well worth your time.
Oh, I don't hardly know the man. Oh, he bought some peat moss for me one time. He paid his bill.
Mr. Sillers impresses me as an honest, God-fearing man. I accept him.
Thank you, Colonel Brady. Colonel Drummond?
Now, Mr. Sillers, you have just said that you were a religious man. Do you work at it very hard?
Well, I'm pretty busy down at the feed store. My wife tends the religion for both of us.
Oh, I see. You take care of this life, and she takes care of the next one. Is that it?
That is objected to as immaterial and argumentative.
Objection sustained.
Now, tell me, Mr. Sillers, while your wife has been taking care of the religion for the family, have you ever heard of a fellow called Charles Darwin?
Oh, not till recent.
Well, tell me something. From what you've heard of this fellow Darwin, you think he's the kind of a man you might invite up for Sunday dinner?
Your Honor, my worthy opponent from Chicago is cluttering up the issue with hypothetical questions.
I have already established that Mr. Sillers is not working very hard at religion. Now, for your sake, I'm trying to establish that he is not working at evolution.
Oh, I'm just working at the feed store.
Mr. Sillers, do you think you can render
Objection. The prosecution's already accepted this.
Well, all I want is a fair trial.
So do I.
Unless the state of mind of the members of the jury conforms to the laws and patterns of society.
Conform. What do you want to do? Run the jury through a meat grinder and have them all come out the same? Take a box seat there, Mr. Sillers.
Your Honor, this is ludicrous.
Gentlemen, you are both out of order. The bench rules that the jury has been selected. Due to the excessive heat, court is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. One moment, please. One moment. Order in the court. Reverend Brown has asked me to announce that there will be a prayer meeting tonight at the picnic grounds. Pray for justice and guidance. All are invited.
Your Honor, I object to that commercial announcement.
Commercial announcement?
Of the Reverend Brown's product? Why don't you announce that there's going to be an evolution meeting?
I have no knowledge of such a meeting.
That's quite understandable. It isn't enough that everybody who comes into this courtroom has to pass under a sign which says, read your Bible. I want that sign taken down, Your Honor.
No!
Or else I want another sign put up, just as big, with just as big letters, which says, read your Darwin.
That's what I mean about this man. Order. Your Honor, we want the learned counsel from the North to get every fairness and consideration in this trial. We must not forget that he is our guest.
Guest, hell, I'm a lawyer in a courtroom.
Then behave like a lawyer. Stop using this courtroom as a platform for your obscene ideas, trying to dirty the minds of our young people here.
You are both out of order. Court is adjourned.
My conduct in this courtroom is not under question, and certainly not by you.
Well, your language is.
I don't swear just for the hell of it. Language is a poor enough means of communication. I think we should use all the words we've got. Besides, there are damn few words that anybody understands.
Henry Drummond, atheist! You? What are you going to say in your paper now?
He that sups with the devil must have a long spoon.
Even better is Judgment at Nuremberg. This is based loosely on the Nuremberg trial. Spencer Tracy plays the presiding judge. Burt Lancaster, Richard Widmark, Marlene Dietrich, Judy Garland, Maximilian Schell, Montgomery Clift. This is an all-star cast. This is a really gripping drama, a lot of surprising action, things you don't expect, very involving, and a chance to see Spencer Tracy at his best.
I have nothing to add to what I have said.
Testimony has been received in the case. Final arguments have been heard. There remains nothing now but the task of the tribunal to render its decision. The tribunal will recess until further notification.
I've collected several precedents and arguments here that have a bearing on the basis of the case, which is, of course, the conflict between allegiance to international law and to the laws of one's own country. Then, we have a mountain of material to go over here. What are you looking at, Dan?
No, I was looking at some of these pictures attached to the warrants for arrest.
What pictures?
Well, there's Peterson. For the operating room. And here's Irene Hoffman. She really was 16 once, wasn't she? Feldenstein. And here's the situation of a boy, certainly couldn't have been more than 14. Executed for saying things against the Third Reich by order of Justice Friedrich Hofstetter.
If I may say so, more pertinent to the legal basis of the case. I have the opening address of the French prosecutor before the International Military Tribunal. It is obvious that in a state organized along modern lines, responsibility is confined to those who act directly for the state. Since they alone are in a position to judge the legitimacy of the given orders, they alone can be prosecuted. I have another from Professor Yarai's Legal Aspects, Trial of the Major War Criminal. Now, on the basis of these, I don't see where the prosecution has put forth a really clear-cut case against the defense pertaining to the charges in the indictment. Regardless of the acts committed, we cannot make the interpretation that these defendants are really responsible for crimes against humanity. What do you think, Dan? Ken, we've been going over these points all day. If it isn't clear now, aren't you going to look at these precedents? Aren't you interested at all?
Yes, I'm interested, Curtis. You were speaking of crimes against humanity and saying that the defendants were not responsible for their acts. I'd like you to explain that to me.
I've just been explaining it.
Well, maybe. But all I've heard is a lot of legalistic double talk and rationalization. You know, Curtis, when I first became a judge, I knew there were certain people in town I wasn't supposed to touch. I knew that if I was to remain a judge, this was so. But how in God's name do you expect me to look the other way at the murder of 6 million people?
Oh, I'm sure he didn't. I'm not asking you to look the other way at them. I'm asking you, what good is it going to do to pursue this policy?
Curtis, you were saying that the men are not responsible for their acts. You're going to have to explain that to me.